Hello people of the internet, it's Amanda, and for today's video we're going to be talking about Kurosagi episode 9. Now this is the pre-final episode for the entire series, and I'm honestly feeling so bittersweet about it because I want to find out what happens in the end. How are they going to tie up this entire story? But then at the same time I feel so sad because I absolutely love this series. I love looking forward to it every single week, and it's no secret here on my channel that I'm a huge fan of Hirano Sho, and I do feel like this is definitely one of his best works so far. I'm really thankful for TBS for giving him this project, as well as Hanahare 4 years ago, which actually prompted me to make J-drama reviews in the first place. And I love that directors who get to work with him in this particular project, as well as producers, writers, everything, have nothing but good things to say about him and the way that he approached this role so far. So as a fan, that's just something that's really satisfying for me, and I think that's one of the reasons why this series is very special to me as well as a viewer. Now outside of that, if you're new here, I make Asian drama reviews, mostly focused on J-dramas and Japanese movies. I do other entertainment related stuff here, mostly related to Kimpori or King and Prince. And yeah, that's basically that. Now, let's talk about the actual episode. So episode 9 starts off with Kurosaki being arrested by the police, but he was let off the hook, much to the disappointment of Kashina. But even with that, he comes so close to just being caught, and he knows that he's already in Hojo's radar, who is his target, given what happened to his family 6 years ago after Mikimoto. And that's a reason why he decided that he's gonna finally just let go of all of the things that are holding him back from going after Hojo entirely. And that was the starting point of him, reaching out to Tsurara for this simple, like having a nice meal, a date of sorts, where they just act like, normal 21-year-olds having a Christmas meal and seeing the illuminations. But obviously, like, both of them understand this kind of like weight of the situation. He entrusts Kuro-chan, which is his cat, to Tsurara. And for Tsurara, that's a signal that the last time that Kurosaki did that, Kurosaki went away on a trip. And with that understanding, they kind of like talk about the situation, what it entails, and all of those things. And obviously, Kurosaki still kept some of the details vague because there's this underlying fact that if Tsurara gets involved in this entire world way too deep, and she's already into it way too deep, then that would also mean a danger for her. But as insistent as she is, and as consistent with what she kept on saying in the previous episodes, she said that she will be waiting for him and that she will be waiting for him to come back. And we see this like expression that of this moment of vulnerability that Kurosaki never really shows any other person, like a lot of different people in his life. And we've often seen him show expressions that is very unique to his conversations with Tsurara. So having this very like nice soft moment between them that will later pay off in the end of the episode is really, really interesting, the way that they built it up. And yeah, like it just shows that they've grown quite special to each other. They don't really define it as something romantic or anything like that, although the implication is there. But it's again very similar to the lyrics of Tsukiyomi, where you find this other person who you want to escape from because of what they're making you feel, and you're trying to evade them as much as possible, but it's just inevitable to do so. And that's a relationship of Kurosaki and Tsurara, is that they have very different they have very different convictions and beliefs, but because of their experience meeting each other and having these conversations with each other and learning about each other's points of views, those things changed. And I do feel like, again, given their limitation of like 10 episodes when it comes to J-dramas or most J-dramas, there's definitely a lot of like room in terms of more character development and stuff like that, especially for the two of them. But given the pacing and everything that's happening with the plot, it's something that I couldn't exactly like complain significantly about. And yeah, and I do feel like, yeah, like given the constant conversations that I've had over the past couple of episodes, it's enough to merit this payoff in episode 9, that it's implied that they have affected each other in that emotional level, and it's enough to show that, you know, they mean something to each other. And I absolutely love how blunt Tsurara is every single time, you know, telling Kurosaki that he's not alone, that there'll always be someone waiting for him when, like, if he's gonna leave or whatever. And then also this time around where she tells him that that she will wait for him. And that's the reason why the next day, like the following day, in after that really nice warm type of date thing that happened, like it's interesting because they feel each other's presence through the door. It's like Kurosaki was kind of like waiting for Tsurara to chase after him, very similar to like the past episodes where whenever he's going somewhere, she's there to like say her piece and be very blunt about him and just talk to him about her thoughts and stuff like that. And then Tsurara was also at the end of the like the other side of her door of her apartment, and she wanted to like, you can see her struggling as well on the other side, but neither of them like act on those feelings, and they just let the other person go, you know. So it shows how much her dynamic has changed, you know. Like Kurosaki knows that he is a Kurosagi, and Tsurara knows her place as well as this person who has a strong belief in justice and everything like that, but who now understands Kurosaki's perspective. And I kind of like how that is. And also, it's gonna circle back in the end. So again, as I mentioned in the previous episodes, Tsurara always runs after Kurosaki to have kind of like a last say in the conversation, but then for this time around, she doesn't. And because she already said her piece earlier on into the night, and he kind of like gave his answer but indirectly in a way, like yeah, so there's this understanding between them, and then that bittersweet moment happens the day after. So yeah. Another thing that fans pointed out before I move on to the other parts of the story for episode 9 is in Kurosaki's phone, Tsurara's name is Tonari no Onna, or the girl next door, because technically, like literally, the unit next to Kurosaki's unit is Tsurara, so they're neighbors. It kind of makes sense that that's the name of her in his phone. But a lot of fans interpreted it, and as mentioned by Koromaru Sensei, who is the illustrator for the Kurosagi manga, that they were very impressed with how fans have interpreted it in different ways, like with Kurosaki, Kurosaki kind of like having this implication or the symbolism that Tsurara will always be this person that he wants to be beside him. Another thing they point out is that the unit beside Kurosaki on the other end is transformed into his costume room. So technically, as compared to like the other tenants in the apartment, the person that he's really just next to is Tsurara, both literally, figuratively. So those kinds of things adds another layer to this kind of like relationship that they have and how Kurosaki really views her. But again, it can just be read as literally as, you know, him naming her that because he wants to put that sense of detachment, that she's just his next door neighbor. But I love that there are different variations of interpretations for that as well. According to Kuromaru Sensei, in the manga, the name of Tsurara and Kurosaki's phone is the pauper next door, because he always teases her for being a poor university student and that her family got scammed, and that's why she met Kurosaki in the first place. So yeah, I love that kind of like change in the drama as well, because again, as I mentioned, it left more room for interpretation for the fans. Now, for the other aspects of the drama, so after leaving after Kurosaki leaving, he disappears for 2 weeks. But another thing that happens before that is he also severs his ties with Katsuragi. He says that he wouldn't be doing these jobs anymore. And again, he made it clear that he couldn't go after Hojo if he's still connected to Katsuragi, because Katsuragi is also connected to Hojo. So it's very complicated. And again, Katsuragi and Kurosaki, they have certain rules within them. And even before with Mikimoto, like Katsuragi says that the only people that Kurosaki can go after the people that wronged Katsuragi, not necessarily related to Kurosaki's intentions. So you see that there's a conflict there, but there's also this emotional conflict that Mikimoto has mentioned in episode 5, where Kurosaki, in a way, whether or not he admits it, treats Katsuragi as his second father, especially after what happened to his family. So all these different things, it's just very interesting in terms of the relationship dynamics before they move on to the actual scam-centric part of the narrative, which is Kurosaki going after Hojo, who is also working with Gamo, who is a Democratic Party member that is looking to launch a new political party with the help of funds from Hojo, and also to skyrocket one of Hojo's ambitions. So they're kind of like connected finances, because again, Hojo is connected to Himawari Bank, financing, then politics, all those things. And then there's this other character, Kusaka-san, who is also related to a financial services company that in a way is related to Hojo, is connected to Hojo, and is threatened by Hojo, and she's afraid that he would go after her, all those different complications. Kurosaki starts working with Kusaka, and things were going along with their favor and stuff, going really well for both of them, and all those things. So interesting, like disguises and stuff like that. Again, as I mentioned, as much as I talk about these episodes in details and interpretations, as for the scams, I do feel like they're very educational and entertaining at the same time. So I'd rather leave you to watch it in the episodes, because I feel like I wouldn't give justice to the technical aspects of those. But just when Kurosaki was really, really happy about the success of, putting in that bait for Hojo to bite into, something happens, and we see that Kusaka was put down. And Kurosaki knows that there's foul play that happened, because he saw the same taser that Kusaka had that initially she wanted to use on him when they were just initially starting to connect, and that she had it with her when she was being taken by the hospital in the coroner and stuff like that. And then he also sees Kanoko, who is again related to Katsuragi, in the scene. So all of these different things, but I do feel like it's just so on the nose for Kanoko-san to be there. And I do feel like it's a misdirect in a way that it probably has something to do with episode 10 being revealed that Katsuragi and Kanoko-san is still working to Kurosaki's advantage, or I don't know, who knows. But I do feel like that's very on the nose, that the moment that Kurosaki arrives there, he also sees Kanoko-san being there, and I do feel like she's going to be a lot more careful, especially in the scene of the crime and stuff like that. So I don't know, but that definitely it kind of like implies that that Kaneko put down Kusaka because of Katsuragi's orders due to his connection with Hojo. But honestly, in my opinion, I don't think that's the case at all. And probably would provide a plot twist in episode 10. But so many things. Like, I think in this particular episode, the thing that stressed me out the most would be these little moments in between Hojo and Katsuragi, and then Katsuragi also like having these moments where it seems like everyone is always on edge, but then nothing happens and there's no payoff. And then I think the last 5 minutes of the episode, we get not only Kosaka-san like falling victim into the entire scheme of things, but also that Tsurara who is calling Kurosaki, after the 2 weeks of his disappearance and everything. She tries to contact him. They kind of like talk briefly and stuff like that. But in that particular moment, she was calling him. He sees her. He sees her from afar, but she doesn't see him. And as he was approaching, it wasn't really clear whether he was going to approach her or that he was gonna look a different way. But then a van approaches and kidnaps Tsurara right in front of his eyes, and he runs after the van. And all of those things happening in the last 5 minutes, especially when there's something eerie happening in the earlier parts of the episode. It's really, really interesting pacing. And yeah, it makes me really excited about, episode 10, because obviously it will start off with what Kurosaki would do, given that Tsurara is kidnapped and has completely been dragged into this entire mess that is his life. And then all these other things with Katsuragi, who will he side with? Will he side with himself as always? Or will there be a bigger play to all of this? What are the other players gonna do? Like, for example, Shiraishi, will he also lend a hand? And, like all these different things, especially since there's a politician involved, a banker involved, all these like other elements who has a lot more power in terms of the structure and dynamic as compared to Kurosaki, who is now operating alone. So yeah, I'm just pretty excited and pumped for the final episode, but at the same time, I just don't want it to end yet. So I'm really, really hoping that they at least have a special episode, or I don't know, like do it like what they did with the 2006 movie, where they actually produced an entire film after the series. So all of those hopes. I saw fan reports and fan sightings yesterday, December 17, as I'm currently filming this one, December 18. That Sho was still seen filming for Kurosagi yesterday, which is quite tight since the final episode will be on the 23rd already, which is Friday of the coming week. So I don't know. I don't want to overthink it, but I also don't want to, like, I feel like, it's still reasonable. The episode is still 1 week away. So yeah, maybe they just don't want any other spoilers to pop out or anything. But yeah, with that said, again, I absolutely love the pacing of this series. There's definitely a lot of like other aspects that can still be improved on, but to me it's just very minor aspects. Like, for example, again, the relationship of Tsurara and Kurosaki. I understand this is not a romance drama, so it's understandable why there's a sense of underdevelopedness in terms of their connection and relationship, but I do feel like the series has done a good job in terms of at least planting the seedlings in creating that kind of like connection between the two of them. Like, there's just so many other side characters that I feel like could have been omitted, and just others just having a more present role into the narrative. But I also understand why there's a need for like several parties to be involved in it as well, and not just a handful of just the same people. But yeah, I think those are like the limitations when it comes to a shorter time frame as compared to, say, usual K-dramas and stuff that ran for at least 16 episodes. But it's also one of the things that I love about K-dramas is that it helps to make stories a lot more concise and not have a lot of like fillers in them, and just like if it's something that's done cohesively, then I call that a success. And I do feel like with the pacing of Kurosagi so far, absolutely love it. I hope that the ending would be so satisfying, because I absolutely love what they did with the Mikimoto episode in episode 5, which is one of the pivotal parts of the series. And I don't think it ever lost its momentum at all when it comes to covering both the storyline of Kurosaki and his pursuit for revenge, and also introducing real life scams that are present in Japan and in different parts of the world as well. So yeah, with that said, if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Let me know in the comments below what are your thoughts on the series, everything. Let's just talk it out down there as usual. And if you're new to my channel and you would want to hear more from me, please subscribe. Thank you so much for watching this video, and I hope to see you again soon in a new one.